Yo, hell yeah. Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, welcome to Wyatt, and I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grrr, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof. Hi, I said hi to all my YouTubers out there. If you like what you hear and if you like what you see, just click all of them subscribe buttons at the bottoms of all of your screens. And because I know you loves me, I know you do, give me some likes. Yeah, give me some likes. And because I always like to know what you are thinking, give me some feedback as well. It's greatly appreciated. Well, today's Wyatt shines a spotlight on Mr. Jason Veasey. He is the acclaimed, the accomplished, the award-winning actor of theater, movies, and television. He's here to tell us about his prolific career, how to make it in the business, and coming out publicly as living with HIV. So buckle up and let's get to it. So without further ado, Wyatt, I said Wyatt, gives a warm welcome to Mr. Jason Veasey, that bona fide multi-hyphenate. He's a stage and screen actor, y'all, and a singer. All I can say to that is, Lord, y'all, good golly, Miss Marley, talk at me, my brother. How the hell are you?
Hey, Wyatt. I said Wyatt O'Brien. Sounds good.
Well, listen, my friend, I know you have a very busy schedule, and I want to thank you for dropping by. Wyatt is greatly appreciated.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Oh, my pleasure. Let me say this to you first, okay? You have one hell of a bedroom voice.
Thank you.
Let me see if I can imitate you. Let me see if I can do this. Hey, what's happening? You know what? I'm the host of the Wyatt podcast. I said Wyatt, just Wyatt. And you know what? I got this guy on here, Jason Veasey. I mean, he is this stage and television actor. He's a singer. I mean, he's been on Broadway. He's been on in movies and shit. He's just like I don't know. He's just super duper.
I'm going to say nailed it. You know, the thing is that my voice, I know that my voice is low. It doesn't sound like that inside my head. It sounds higher in my head.
I'm a voiceover instructor in talent. I always tell my students that too. It just sounds differently coming out than what's in your head.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad that I kind of met your approval. That's good. But anyway, seriously now, I want to congratulate you, man, on Up Close and Personal, your well-received pause.com interview that dropped several weeks ago. Very great job, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm very, very proud of it. It was something that had been kind of swirling around my spirit head for a few years now. Honestly, It's something that I definitely knew that it was something that I wanted to do at some point in my life. I was just hoping that when I did it, I would be like so rich and successful that could nobody say anything to me.
I get it.
You know,
I get that.
But that's not how it worked out. And when the opportunity presented itself, I talked to some trusted people and got their opinions, and then at the end of the day made my decision, because it's one of those things where when I think about it, I would regret not doing it more than I would potentially regret doing it.
And you know what we're going to do? We're going to hold that until a little bit later.
Okay.
Because I've got a lot of questions about that. And okay, first of all, man, I love reading people's CVs and their bios, because when you do great work, everybody should know about it. So, I mean, you are just this amazingly talented artist. Like I said in the opening, you've performed in movies, TV, and the theater. You've been in the theater. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? The theater. Now, some of your stage credits include the Pulitzer Prize and Tony Award winning musical A Strange Loop. We're going to talk about that later.
Good.
And the Broadway and national touring companies of The Lion King.
Yeah.
You've appeared in numerous TV and big screen productions, including American Gangster with Denzel Washington, The Equalizer with Queen Latifah, and Only Murders in the Building with Martin Short, Steve Martin, and Meryl Streep. And regarding the hit Hulu series Only Murders in the Building, you, my man, were recognized for your multi-season arc as Jonathan
Mhm.
with a 2024 SAG Award nomination. You've also appeared on Little Voice, Apple TV, Chicago Fire on NBC, High Maintenance on HBO Max, Flatbush Misdemeanors on Showtime, Betty on HBO, Dash and Lily on Netflix. And you also star in the just released feature film Friendship alongside Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson. So, having said all of that, don't go breaking yourself on the back, patting yourself on the back.
When you read it like that, I have to, man. That's when I really say that genuinely. When it's very easy to doubt oneself, but when you read that,
Mhm.
wow, that
Well,
that yeah,
what is it like having created such a diverse body of work, Jason?
it feels um apropos for me as a person and my personality. It
Hmm.
feels correct, meaning I had this dream when I was a kid, and my parents supported me. And
Hmm.
every day, uh, when I'm faced with that, it just, it means we were right. It means that my parents were like, go for it, and I went for it, and um, it's something to be proud of, and especially in a day and age where I think it's very easy for people to fall into imposter syndrome or constantly critique themselves to the point where they're not looking at what's in front of them. Um,
Hmm.
it's very affirming, and it is a great, fantastic receipt that no matter what I might feel about where I'm going in my life, the achievements are the achievements, and it's okay to acknowledge the achievements and stand firm in that. You know, as an artist and as a black person too. Like at first thing I was just like, of course that's my resume. I've been working at it long enough. Of course it
Yeah. Like I said, it's a hell of a resume. And it brings me, it's a great lead into my next question, Jason, which is this. Making it in the entertainment business can be a crapshoot.
is.
There's so many factors involved. So, and nothing is guaranteed. So, what are the basic qualities or attributes must one have to be successful in the business? If you could name like three.
Right. 'Cause I don't think there's some sort of formulaic thing, but
Yeah.
from my standpoint, a touch of delusion slash confidence, it could go either way.
Mm,
Um, I think that delusion can be healthy in terms of you've got to be your biggest fan more than anyone else.
right.
Um, I think a commitment to people always say commitment to craft. Yes, commitment to craft, but commitment to what got you started in the first place. Staying connected to your love of something
Mm,
about what you're doing in the first place. Always going back to that. And I think specificity of goals, and those can change. Whether your goal is to be famous, whether your goal is to just be a working actor, my goal right now is to use the gifts and the craft that I've been trained in to as a tool to build a life where I can take care of myself and those who I love. Um, Before it was just to work, but being specific about the goals that you want
Hmm.
with the craft and gift that you have. To me, those seem to be consistently what I see in myself and other people, from Meryl Streep to someone coming in. Those three things seem to be a common thing amongst people that are successful. Other things are just tricks of the trade.
Mm. Okay, everybody. I mean, that's deep and it makes so much sense, you know? Thank you, Jason, for that. Now, we're going to do a deep dive into your prolific career a little bit later, but for now, it's time to sashay down the corridors of time to learn all about your backstory. Because you
Okay.
see, we here at Wyatt, I said Wyatt, likes to get all up in your business. So are you
Okay.
ready?
So yes, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Lompoc, California. I was raised as an Air Force brat. Both my mother and father were in the Air Force, so we moved all around the country and the world. So I was born in California. Then we moved to Texas.
Uh-huh.
Then we moved to Germany. Then we
Wow.
moved to Alabama,
Oh my
and then we
goodness.
landed in Colorado Springs.
Almost like a ping pong ball.
Yeah,
I don't mean
yeah,
any harm,
yeah,
but in a good way. I mean, because you
yeah,
saw a lot of different places
yeah.
and you had diverse, different experiences. You know.
Correct. Correct. It's it's one of the, a lot of times when I tell people that I'm an Air Force brat, sometimes they'll have a reaction as if I was in the foster care system. And I'm
Oh
like,
God.
I was like, that's no. It wasn't some sort of, we had a great time. My brothers and I
Right.
had a really fun time. We got to see lots of things, and we had we saw parents who worked and who, did their thing, and it was a great childhood. It really was.
And your dad was serving our country. So,
My dad and my mom. That's
oh,
the thing. Both parents.
oh, sorry about that. That's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What, Army,
Air Force.
Air
Air
Force?
Force. Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah.
wow, that's
It was a,
amazing.
it was a, it was it was a cool life. I mean, we got to see lots of places.
Yeah.
We got the social skills, especially the middle. I'm the oldest. The middle brother and I. I mean, when you're the new kid all the time
Hmm.
and around other new kids, you gain a sense of being able to walk into a space and suss things out. I don't have a fear of getting lost. I gained a lot from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like you did. That's great.
Hmm.
Oh, I love to ask this question. Here it
Yes.
is. Okay. What was Jason like as a little boy, a little nipper? Give us like three characteristics, attributes that best describe you.
Your timing is so perfect because I just figured out a really great way to answer this question. I I was a ham. I was a ham in my bedroom, and then a nice reserved kid outside. Like,
That's
I wasn't someone who was, look at me, look at me. I was amiable, I was respectful, I was a little charming, but I was never someone who was going to be like rocking the boat out in public. And it wasn't
Mhm.
that. But once I got into my room, it was like this whole other alter ego thing. I wouldn't say I was shy. I wasn't
Mhm.
shy. I just wasn't. I was not obnoxious. it
That's
was. It was.
that's
It was.
good.
There were definitely some people who might have been shocked that I. And this is what I do.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
But
I think
extremely imaginative. Extremely imaginative. Loved playing. Loved pretending. Loved organizing kids playing together. But I wasn't having all the solos in school plays and things like that until much later.
okay, I get it. I get it. Well, when and how did you first develop the spark that lit the fuse for performing? When did you first look at acting and say, this is my life? This is what I'm going to do?
I said it before I knew what it was.
Oh, okay.
My mom says that when I was younger, like 2, 3, I kept trying to get into the box, the TV, knocking the box. And some of my earliest memories are just images of me sitting still and like watching things. Like I definitely had a thing for Gene Kelly.
Oh,
I
yeah.
definitely remember images of like early The Wizard of Oz and
Mhm.
Nell Carter from Give Me a Break for some reason, just maybe like I don't know what that was. And then around like 6 or 7, Wyatt, I just said, I'm gonna be an actor. It was either an actor or a snow cone truck driver. And I just stuck with it. And I remember that show Entertainment Tonight?
Mhm.
I remember knowing if you're famous, they say your birthday every time. So I was just like, if
Oh.
I'm an actor, they'll say my birthday when it's my birthday on Entertainment Tonight.
Oh, okay.
And so in my mind, I said that's the way to go.
Right.
I just gotta do it. But then that also coincided with like, seeing live performing arts and things like that. It
Mhm.
just I don't know if it was ever something that
Mhm.
was not gonna happen.
Right.
It just was there and present, and it was just a thing that always made people performing and people doing amazing things on stage, whether it be dance or singing. I just could not take my eyes off of people doing that. Even if it was like the teacher reading a storybook during story time at class, just someone getting up in front of people and telling a story just got my attention. So
That's
I don't know if I had
interesting.
a chance in hell of not being anything else, really.
That is, that's something. I hate, for lack of a better phrase, that's something else. Okay, cool. Now, when you guys lived in Montgomery, Alabama, you joined the local theater. You performed in such productions as A Midsummer Night's Dream, A Raisin in the Sun, and one of your favorites, Peter Pan. So, talk to us about that.
Well, it's funny because, Alabama is one of those places that when I tell people I lived there, they're like, how was that? And I'm like, honestly, Alabama's going to always have love in my heart because that's where I finally got to test out my love of the arts.
Oh, okay.
Um, we had gotten back from Germany. There was a local community theater that is more than a community theater. It's the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, which is a huge theatrical institution in this country.
Okay.
And uh, my parents asked me if I wanted to audition. And my brother and I auditioned, and we got cast. And it was my first foray into theater with professional actors.
Hmm.
A number of them are very famous now, from Norbelio Butz to Carrie Preston, who plays Elspeth on the TV show Elspeth. I was around all these actors
Right.
and like professional actors. So my idea or introduction to theater was one, people doing what they love, but also it was professional, meaning like we got there and it was, yeah, this is great. You're a kid, but you are getting a paycheck.
Mm. Hmm.
So there was expectations. So my approach to theater has always been married with also you have a job to do. So the
Okay.
discipline started right away. And that
Hmm.
also came from which also meant like with mom and dad. Then grades start slipping, this goes away. So you got to start juggling all those balls. I didn't know any different. So my introduction to theater was um, a very excellent one. And that
Hmm.
coincided with me going to an arts magnet school as well. So I was just constantly from a young age around theater and all of that in Alabama, of all places.
Uh,
But
of all
the
places.
thing about being in Alabama is that I was constantly surrounded by artists, teachers, things with people who look like me. So I did not have the
Mm.
experience of like a lot of people I know who like I never saw myself on stage or whatever. I constantly saw myself on stage. We constantly were taking field trips to see Alvin Ailey come at Alabama State. My teachers were black. My creative writing teacher was black. My show choir choreographer was black. I this is also in the early 90s when we had all these amazing shows on TV, the New Jack Swing era, Spike Lee, John Singleton.
Right, right.
So there was no such thing as me not thinking that I didn't have a place in the arts because I saw it everywhere around me,
Mm.
which is a blessing.
Yeah, that was a blessing.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. Jason, let's fast forward and delve into that pause.com article. I'm going to read several passages and ask you to please comment on them. Okay, here's one, and I quote: Veasey made his mark on Broadway as an original cast member of the Tony and Pulitzer Prize winning musical A Strange Loop. He played one of the five thoughts, thought five to be exact, before the lauded musical even made it to the Great White Way. He started working on the play in 2012 and was there at one of its earliest live performances in 2015, the year he tested HIV positive, end quote. First of all, please break down A Strange Loop and your character for us.
Okay.
What is it all about?
The quick pitch of A Strange Loop is that it's a musical about a black gay theater writer writing a musical about a black gay theater writer writing a musical about a black gay theater writer. That's the quick pitch. It centers on a character named Usher, who was an usher at a Disney show that takes place in Africa about lions, The Lion
Oh,
King, because the
okay.
writer, Michael R. Jackson, was an usher at The Lion King. Um, and he is uh, a gay, fat, black young man who is coming to terms with how he feels about himself, his art, the world, the way he sees the world, the way he sees the way the world sees himself. And as a means of telling the story, he is surrounded by, it's actually not five, it's six thoughts.
Oh, okay.
That was a little mistake in the article, by his six
Oh,
thoughts. And they represent everything from his self doubt to his inner rage to his perceptions of his agent, a potential lover, his parents, ancestors. We play it all. So, and each thought has at least two step out moments. And so, thought five, um, I came out as a potential love interest on the subway. That is a very pivotal moment in the show. And then my second step out is that I land as the final iteration of his father.
ah.
Um, and so Thought
Hmm.
Five was essentially a, a version of me, and then I would become this guy on the subway, and then the final version of his father in his mind.
Interesting. You know what this sort of reminds me of a little bit? Do you remember the old Fox sitcom Herman's
Herman's
Head?
Head.
Herman's Head.
It's
Remember that?
no one ever remembers that because it was on for like two seasons.
I love that show. And
It is like Herman's Head. It's like Herman's Head. If Herman's Head and Fear of a Black Man. It's darker than Herman's Head, and there are more. Um, the thoughts are not as representative of like an emotion, but it's definitely right down that alley. Yes, definitely right down that alley. That is a reference point that we use a lot. Herman's Head.
everybody, Google Herman's Head, go to YouTube, you'll fall in love with that series. That's all I'm going to say, because I want you to do your work and go and check out Herman's Head. Only two seasons. That's right.
Yes, yes, I remember that very well.
Damn. Okay. After learning of your diagnosis, how did you stay focused and stay on task to make A Strange Loop a success?
I think no one's ever asked me that before. It has to be some sort of either detachment or just separation because I'd already been involved with the Strange Loop before that. And so I think the combination of one, anytime you're doing something that you love, it's a distraction. So healthy distraction. Um, and two, the reality is that this was 2015 as jaunting as an HIV positive diagnosis can be, I do have a chip in my head that also starts to like look at the facts around me.
Hmm.
And the reality was that this wasn't the years 1984 to 1998, 99 at the height of the epidemic. So I knew instinctually that like I was going to be okay, assuming
Hmm.
that I adhered to my medication, which I'm good at, and assuming that my support system stayed the same, which it did. So, and that quickly came to be, meaning like I realized that those things were already set in place upon my diagnosis. My support system, even though it was scary to tell people, was locked into gear, meds got into gear, and then it quickly just became a new part of my life. So I really didn't bring that in consciously to approaching a strange loop. Part of which is because when you're playing a thought in strange loop, the story is not happening to you.
Ah.
You have the ability as a thought, if you think about what thoughts do, our thoughts change and can be whatever they want in anybody. So as a thought, you're the one shifting and you're the one who's telling him that he's not worth it. You're the one who's saying you are worth it. So for me, it actually was a blessing that I wasn't at the center of the story because Usher's the one that has to spend the whole show not loving himself.
Mm.
Whereas a thought, it doesn't matter what you're doing as long as it's confident. So it wasn't happening to me. So I didn't have to go to any sort of place
Got
about
it.
it. But when I think about it, maybe in turn, that's kind of what helped me do it was the fact that it just became an element of my life and not the main source of my life.
Got it. Okay. That pause.com article stated, and I quote, but he, meaning you, has never equated AIDS with God's wrath. He was not raised in a religious household, and he realized early on in his life with HIV at a support group for newly diagnosed people that he didn't have the same relationship with his status as those in the room who had grown up in the church. End quote. Now that's intriguing. So please expound on that for us.
Yeah, I it's just something that I've observed in that group, and then in other people talking about their experience and their journey with their own HIV status. You know, it's not uncommon, unfortunately, for a lot of queer people, but in this case, I'll talk about cis gay black men because that's what I am, to from a very young age be given messages that being gay in and of itself is an abomination.
Right.
Um, and the history of an association of HIV and AIDS with cis gay men, even though it goes beyond that, with cis gay men, creates this perfect storm of someone who is a gay man becoming HIV positive, and those messages coming up and thinking that it is a punishment for them existing as a gay man. If they were to find some other avenue to not be gay, this wouldn't have happened. And I'm saying that only because these are things that I heard people say, people who
Mhm.
I am good friends with in this group from that group today. And I just did not have those feelings. At the very worst, I was like, this is a consequence for a choice and judgment. You know, I grew up of the generation where I knew better. You know,
Yeah.
I knew what safe sex was. I knew the repercussions of what could happen. So
Mm.
my negative feelings about myself were about that. But I never once felt like, oh, God is doing this to me
Mm.
because I'm
Mhm.
gay. And so a lot of those men also had what they med rejection, where they have such a hard time staying on top of their meds because taking a pill every day as a reminder of the punishment from God. And the only way that I could figure out why I didn't feel that way is because my relationship with God has never been one that's been based in shame or being told that what I was bad. Again, I didn't grow up in church, and I definitely didn't grow up with parents or family members telling me that because I was gay, that I was going to hell or that I was not worth something. So
Hmm.
why would I think that that equation just wouldn't add up to me or for me? But unfortunately, there are too many people who believe that and who equate those two things together. Um, you know, it's honestly, if I could come out and if I could come out in a safe environment as gay, it actually makes sense that I could come out as HIV positive. I understand why a lot of my colleagues and friends who just coming out as gay was already such a big thing that tore their family upside down. There is no way they would come out as HIV positive because that's going to be confirmation
Mm.
from their family, you know? So I understand the weight
Yeah.
of coming out as HIV positive, and I also understand the confusion of how easy it could be for me to, and it was easier than most because again, I've never connected me being HIV positive to me for it being for me not being a reason why I shouldn't be on the planet.
Wow, that's powerful. That is so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, your parents have always been intimately involved in your treatment, which is a major blessing. Tell us more about that.
Um, yeah, intimately involved meaning you know, they're not helicoptering, but
Right.
definitely when I told them, it took me 3 months to tell them, which is that's long for my given my relationship with my parents. And um, the first thing I knew to do was present them with all the information that they had. I wanted to tell them when things were already going good and set in place.
Hmm.
Um, I think they're also maybe I got it from them. I think after their initial reactions to me being HIV positive, the next thing was okay. Well, what's the game plan? What do we do? And
Right.
I think my parents also love information, and so my next thing was to give them information. So they met with my doctor. They asked whatever questions they wanted to, and since then, you know, I will inform them if, you know, if I need help with medication, because, you know, we do live in an age where insurance and things are crazy. Or if I'm switching a medication, I let them know to keep them abreast of that. Or if there's anything really, you know, important that they need to know, I let them know. Of course, they check in and ask how health is going. Um, but they are, at this point in time, it's almost like, I don't know, I have to ask them. It just feels like if I were to be asthmatic or, you know, like, do you have your inhaler? Think, you know,
Mm.
like, yes, I do, you know.
Exactly.
Um, I, I actually should probably ask them how often they're aware that their son is HIV positive. Because even for me, it's something that, like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm HIV positive,
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
because it's a thing now for me. Um,
Yeah.
they're just great. They're great. It's I hit the jackpot with those two.
Yes, you did. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, and then you decided to publicly come out as living with HIV. You recorded a video as part of Playbill's Storyteller series, in which you discussed the importance of continuing to tell stories about HIV. But you didn't disclose your status then in that video. But after that recording, Jason, something changed, something shifted inside you. Tell us about that if you would.
Yeah, I like you said, we had to do a recording first, and I was talking to my friend Brian, who organized it, and I had brought up the idea actually to him about maybe that's what I should do because we were given the task of talking about someone that had HIV that impacted us in our lives. So some people talk about a teacher or whatever, and I didn't really have anyone. And I was like, well, I have myself. And then
Hmm.
something about the taping just said, this is not the right way to go about it.
Right.
And those 2 weeks in between the taping and the live performance of this thing that we were doing, that's when it was solidified to me that it's something that I have to do at some point in my lifetime. I definitely, it's not disappointment. It's not, after I didn't on the video, even though I knew that it wasn't the right time, I
Hmm.
remember still feeling like a coward.
Ah, yeah.
That's the first time I've ever said that. I felt like a coward. Um, Not because I felt pressure, but because I was like, this is something, I don't know why, but this is something that you needed to do. So that's when I said, I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's something that I need to do. I feel important because that tinge of regret let me know that it's something that your spirit is calling you to do.
Hmm.
And so then flash forward to the live performance, did not plan on doing it, did the exact same script that I did on the video, and I just ended with like, the HIV people like me. And it just came out. And I realized that there were a number of people in the audience that did know, for sure. A number of people that did know, enough to make me feel comfortable and safe. And
Right.
then I started singing my song, and that's when I started seeing other people that I knew. I was just like, oh, they didn't know. They
Uh,
didn't know. And that's when the emotion took over me. And I was just like, what did I do? What did I do? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And um, after that, I thought, okay, well, I guess that was me doing that. I guess that's what happened, and it was a nice, safe, small, group of 95 people.
a lot of
And
people.
then, yeah. And then the people from Pause Magazine were there and immediately came over and were like, we want to talk to you. And I was kind of like, oh, that wasn't it. What I was thinking of, this is probably going to be it.
Ah.
I was thinking that little small thing might have been my coming out, and then literally within 30 seconds, Pause Magazine rushed over to me and said, "We want to talk to you." And I was just like, "Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. That's what it is." And so then over like the course of a month, I just kind of weighed the pros and cons, tapped with my trusted advisors, parents, partners, some friends, agents, and then threw their opinions out and just went with my gut and said, "Let's do that. Let's do it. What? Let's do it now and see what happens."
Well, you know what? I have to say this to you, Jason. You know what I'm going to say to you?
What?
Let me tell you something,
Life
bro.
of living.
That was a B&B move, a bold and bodacious move. So you have everything to be proud about.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I I'm trying to. I'm not trying to be. I'm living up to bold and bodacious, and I found that when I'm bold and bodacious, that's when things my goals are achieved. And
Mhm.
I had a really trusted friend ask me, "Well, if everything's good, why feel the need to talk about it?" And I said, "Well, we had a longer conversation, but why I'm a firm believer. If you look at life as an orchestra, right? Everyone's got their instrument to play, right?
Mhm.
I'm not saying that everyone who's HIV positive needs to step out on the mountaintop and say I'm HIV positive,
Right.
but I do believe I'm a trumpet, and I also believe that I have the personality to withstand any potential negative reactions that can come my way. Some people aren't, and I think that when you're a trumpet or a flashlight holder, my only job is to just be like, look there, and do that. And so I feel like one of my purposes was to, at least by just saying something, give people the option
Uh huh.
by watching me say it. And also, it's not me just saying I'm HIV positive. What I'm really saying is, it is my hope and my dream that we get to a place not just with HIV awareness, but with also the ways that families support queer people or anyone with HIV. Look at me. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying this is the way that it should be for everyone. Everyone should feel strong enough and backed enough to say something scary in the face of a world that is saying that that's not true. I hope that everyone has the homies and the friends and the Trojan tribe and brothers and parents like I do. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And so
Mm-hmm.
if I can just do that by standing up and being like, that's the easiest thing to do. The easiest thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said, my brother.
Thank you, man.
Let's move on to Friendship,
Okay.
the new movie produced by A24 Films.
Yes.
Now, listen, a little birdie told me, Jason, that you've become the breakout star of the movie's trailer, which has gone semi-viral online. Now, before you comment, let me read this quote. Let me try to do this. Let me try to do this in an announcer's voice. Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Though the movie centers on the budding friendship between characters played by Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd, Veasey's velvety voice dominates the teaser. As the action unfolds, Veasey sings the beloved R&B classic My Boo, My Boo, My Boo by Ghost Town DJs. As the trailer went semi-viral, Veasey's voice, the voice of a person living with HIV, took over the internet, end quote. Now, you can comment now.
Let me tell you something. When that trailer came out, I had no idea. I woke up to like messages. I thought someone got shot.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea what was going on. And then people were like, the trailer, the trailer, the trailer. I was like, oh, okay, the trailer's out, right? Look at the trailer. Because keep in mind, too, it's not like I got the whole script for the movie we're filming. Someone had, great, I'm excited to see exactly what the tone of the piece is, what it's going to be. And we get to the section where I see my face. I'm like, oh, there I am. And then I was taken aback at how much I was in the trailer.
Uh-huh.
And then I immediately, the next day, I was going to meet someone,
Uh-huh.
and someone just started singing My Boo at me. And I was just like, what? Which, which I'm not mad at because I love that song so much. It's a classic. I hope that Quad City DJs is getting some extra money and coins from it now that it's streaming everywhere. I hope that I'm bringing the classic to the younger generations. But it's been awesome. It's been a thrill, especially for like my friends from like my age bracket that know that song when it's hot. It's been very fun to watch them freak out over me singing a song that we loved when we were in high school.
Well, I have to say this to you, my friend. If you don't already have a husband, you might get a husband now. Listen. Or if you do have a husband right now, you better be careful and watch out because everybody wants you to be their husband right now.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna tell him. I'm gonna tell him you said that. He's aware. He's aware. He's a catch himself. So you know, his first step will be like, well, if I'm gonna get a husband, make sure that he's rich and can pay for our things.
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and fund the life. Yeah, for sure. No, it's been really cool, I was taken aback at the trailer. I was not expecting that at all. And it's funny because I was only on set for a total of maybe like 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
We auditioned before shooting. We got an email saying, "Hey, they're singing. Does anyone know this song?" And I said, "Yeah, course I know this song. This got me so hyped. It's been such a long time since I've been able to talk about this song.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because of some of the other guys, they weren't thinking that song. They were thinking of the Usher Alicia Keys
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
song.
Mm-hmm,
Which I
mm-hmm.
was kind of like, oh, that's interesting that y'all went there. Some of them had never even heard of the song before. I was just like,
Oh.
that was such a classic for me growing up.
Mm.
But I was thrilled that they picked that song. Thrilled.
Mm. Okay, Mr. Internet Star. Let me ask you this question. I think the early part of the year, I interviewed an entertainment attorney. We had this conversation about the business of the biz. And performers can be so focused on their craft that they sometimes get bamboozled and they're locked into these horrible contracts. So how crucial, Jason, is if you're a performer, is knowing and understanding the business of the business?
I think it is very crucial. I think there's two halves of the business, one of which I think is crucial, and that's like the legalese, the contracts, things. As a matter of fact, I think that any program, acting program, dance program, anything where you're being trained to be a professional artist, even if it's visual art or whatever. If you're going to school for it, part of that major to graduate, I think should have at least two business courses, one of which is in reading contracts and understanding contractual language in the field. I think that should definitely be a thing. Um, I think that is important. I think knowing negotiation skills are important. That kind of thing is very important. There's a other aspect of the business that I think is important, but I think people get too caught up in. Um, and I think that there is a difference between being business savvy
Mm-hmm.
and understanding that this is a business, right? But I
Uh,
do not think that your gift and your craft are the same thing as the business. You're using the
mm,
business
hmm
to encapsulate and get your craft, use the craft as a tool to get you someplace else. And I think a lot of times people confuse their craft, if they have one, with a business. I think one of the things that I appreciate, especially with social media, is that it's spawned a whole generation of people, young artists who are not afraid to move through life knowing their worth or knowing their worth, um, and moving as such and having expectations that at the very minimum they'll be treated like they are worthy. I love that. I love that. But I also see a lot of people who don't know why they're here doing what they're doing. Like
mm.
it's great that you're business savvy, but also too, what is it that you do? What is it that you do? Do you understand how to do 8 shows a week? Do you understand on a Tuesday you don't have to go that far into the emotional depth of the pool to tell the story when you have 7 other shows to do the week? Do you understand how to keep your reserve on a long shooting process? Do you understand that you can't, like there's a lot of things that are outside of the business that we're now confusing with the business. And I think the main thing about being business savvy and being and understanding the business, you understand the business so you can protect yourself, not just legally here and here.
Mm,
When you realize that these fools ain't your friends,
mm.
that makes it easier for you to not be taken over by this industry we call show. Part of the
Right.
reason what can be so hurtful and traumatic about the business is that it's run by human beings. And if you don't know any better, you expect human beings to to treat each other like great human beings.
Mm-hmm.
That's not always the case in business. Even some of the best human beings, producers, directors, or whatever, might want to treat you as like the way that they want to, but the system of the business of show does not allow them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, when I say learn the business, what I mean is learn that these people are not your friend, and it's actually not their job to be concerned with your mental, physical, artistic well-being.
Wow.
So you only learn about contracts. For me, I like knowing my contractual language because I know my personality. I know that it's a hard pill to swallow that these human beings are not acting like human beings. So I can be like, boom, this, and this. My heart doesn't want to do that, but the contract does that. The quicker you realize that the business does not allow for ultimate humanity and care, the better you will feel, and the less harm you will receive, and the less harm you will consciously or subconsciously enact on other people. Because I'm also a firm believer, this is in order to become at the height of the entertainment industry, I do not think it's possible to do that without harming yourself or others, intentionally or unintentionally.
Mm.
I don't think it's possible to like be at the top of the food chain of Hollywood. I don't think it's possible to do that without being harmed or having harmed someone else.
You dropped some very important knowledge on our heads. Wow. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
That is such food for thought. Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard, especially when I mean it's they don't say that Hollywood is obsessed with youth because youth is pretty. It's because youth don't know no better.
mm, mm-hmm.
Because youth don't know no better. I can think of so many things so many ways I could have got between 25 and 30 that would never happen now. And it's not because I didn't know contract language. It's not because I didn't know the business. It's because they didn't have the life experience to be able to peep game when it was coming down my way, you
Right.
know, or the want to achieve success by gaining approval or making sure that this person that I did what this person wanted, as opposed to achieving success by making the choices that I want to make and doing things with my perspective and my point of view, with discipline and integrity and savvy. You know, it's so much easier to create a star when that star doesn't know that they are one.
Mm. Wow.
Because if you meet someone and they know that they're a star, they're going to be expensive to you as an executive. Because if I know that I'm a star, I'm not taking 50 cents. I want 50 million because I know that I'm a star. But if I don't know that I'm a star and you tell me that I'm a star, you'll say, you know what? You're a star, baby. I'm going to give you $275,000 for this movie. But if you knew you were a star, you'd be like, no, you need to be giving me 13 million. That's why they can make a star, because the kids don't know that they are one yet.
So much of this is knowing your self worth.
Yeah.
Yes.
And on the to yes and to that, there's an upswing of that. Knowing your self worth is not the same thing as walking in at the beginning of your career and saying that you're worth the same as Will Smith. No, 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 no. Knowing your self worth is just what is how you walk in, regardless of what you're getting paid. So you get treated with respect. But just because I know my self worth doesn't mean I can walk in and be like, well, why am I not getting paid the same as someone who's been in the game and made millions of dollars for a studio? I'm not going to get. Why should I get paid the same as Angela Bassett? Why? Not currently. Next to her. You know. You also have to understand not hierarchy, but just like there are people who've been in the game who've opened doors for you. So also understand that you're still back there a little bit. It doesn't mean that you're less than. So I think that that's also a thing too. Knowing your worth is not a price tag. It means that there actually is not a price tag big enough.
Mm.
If I know my worth, it doesn't matter how much money you pay me. You're not going to sit there and choke me out
Mm-hmm.
and abuse me physically because you're paying me money and then I'll come back. That's me knowing my worth.
Mm, wow. This is, man, Jason, powerful, powerful. I got to thank you for that. Wow.
Yeah.
Um, Before we jet out of here, and this has been, I can't think of the adjective that I want to use. It's just a great, I'm just going to have to be cliched. It's a great conversation. I'll think of it later. But what projects are you currently working on that are in the pipeline?
Right now, I am currently working on this new musical called The Counterfeit Opera,
No.
which is a reworking third version of the Beggar's Opera that became the Three Penny Opera, if people know about that. And it's
Mhm.
a great group of misfits and creative people, and I'm really excited to be working on it. And it's going to be at Little Island, which is
Oh.
a park in New York City that is in the Hudson River, beautiful park in an amphitheater. And we start performances this week. We'll see. It's also been raining, so it's been. But I'm working on that, and I'm very excited to do that and be getting back to the stage. And I love doing theater in the summer. It's a perfect way to start my favorite season of the year.
Mhm.
And then the next thing that I'm working on is creating. I've been working on it for a long time, but really putting it into practice. I've been creating a course for universities for primarily focused for young African American talent, but I have literature for all things about relating to your artistic ancestry. We were
Mhm.
talking earlier about me growing up in Alabama and seeing myself, and I see a lot of young people are starting out coming into the business with a deficit of self-worth
Mhm.
because they feel like they did not see themselves. And I was talking to a classmate of mine, and we were like, what is the difference between us and some of these other younger people that like they just are so they feel so lost? And it's like, well, it's because we saw ourselves on stage. I was always aware of the contributions to the art form and life that I've chosen from people that look like me. My parents were
Mhm.
awesome. They were kind of like, if whatever you want to do, you want to get the black version first. If you wanted a Barbie, you get in a black Barbie first. You
Yes.
know, whatever.
Yeah.
So I was so moving through college and and all these things where you have people tell you that you can't do something because you're black or whatever. It doesn't. It's not that it didn't affect me, but it did it roll off my back. Yeah, because I was just like, well, you can't tell me that I can't do that because I've seen that already. I've already seen someone play this part. I already know that we can sing opera. I already know that we can do ballet. I already know that we can do it. I already know that we can do comedy. I already know that we can do all these things. Like you can't tell me that there's no examples. I already know the possibilities of what we can do because it's been happening for generations before me. Going back to Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee, you can't tell me that we
Mhm.
can't write plays, you know? So it's about creating literature, catalogs, exercises that connect young people with the people that came before them. So when they are presented with a potential roadblock or a potential limitation, they can either bash through that limitation or just not even pay it any mind because that person doesn't even know what they're talking about. I mean, when I got to college, not for nothing, I loved a lot of my professors, a lot of them, but they couldn't teach me about anything about Black theater. I already knew it.
Mm. Mhm.
I already knew it. I already saw it. You know, it's wild when you have a ballet teacher tell you, that there's no place for black people in classical or concert dance. And I'm kind of like, has she not heard of Alvin Ailey or,
Yeah.
you know? So I'm working on that to kind of put something in place, a vitamin, if you will, for the young artists coming up because
Ah.
they need it. Or at some point, my generation has dropped the ball on passing down what we were passed down to them. So we got to figure something out in terms of that to give these kids some self worth. So when they walk up into these places, they can walk up with their head held high, knowing that for years, generations, people that look like us have been changing the game, changing the art form, setting the standard.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That is admirable. Thank you for that.
yeah.
So, how do we connect with you, follow you? Please give us all of your social media info.
Yes, I am on Instagram at VeaseyVille, VeaseyVille. On all platforms. That's TikTok, that's Twitter, that is Threads, that is Instagram. I am on Facebook too. Um, you can also see me in a couple of forums on YouTube coming up about friendship. They're getting a bunch of the guys from Friendship to talk about the movie. That'll be fun. You can check me out at Little Island this summer in Counterfeit Opera.
Mm. And you know, you are the internet star. So, yeah, I get that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Mr. Jason Veasey, thank you for stopping
Thank
by.
you very much.
Wyatt,
Thank you.
it was entertaining, enlightening, enticing, exciting, all of the E's, if you know what I'm talking about. And you've got to come back.
I'll come back. This is so much fun.
Listen, my friend, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for providing a space that feels very comfortable. I don't feel like I'm on a podcast. I feel like I'm at some sort of cookout or dinner or something, and we're just hanging out. Thank you so much.
Listen, the ribs are over there.
Okay. Don't tell you ain't gonna tell me but once.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. So, y'all, there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page at WyattEvans.com, the go-to destination for LGBTQ plus news, features, commentary, and entertainment. WyattEvans.com is visited by more than 100 countries on the regular. All I can say to that is, hey, baby. And at WyattEvans.com, you'll find my smoking hot, HAWT hot, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. And as you just saw on the top, the newest installment is called Shattered. I said Shattered. And y'all, Shattered is full of action, danger, intrigue, sexually charged situations, passion, and all of the wonderful elements that you're used to in the Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. So get your new copy of Shattered. Now you can follow me, your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, all across social media, and poof is right there for you to peruse, like TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And if you have any comments or whatever, you can hit me up at wyattonair@gmail.com. So until next time, y'all, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof. I said woof.